Another retreat, another early morning. Today I am in Prince Edward County at the beautiful June Motel. It's my friend's motel, and I am here for another retreat. It's Elise's Best Life. I'm here at the Best Life retreat hosted by Ingo. Hosted by Ingo Roth, who is a professor from the University of Toronto. He calls himself an innovation shrink. So he basically walks you through how to look at your life as it currently is and design it in a way of how you ultimately want it to be. This has been 2.5 days of looking inwards and thinking about my life in a way that I really haven't taken the time to do so, maybe ever. So some of the exercises were really challenging, but I think really worthwhile too. So in this video, I want to cover 4 takeaways that I've learned from attending the Best Life retreat. The first takeaway is this idea that there are actually formulas for things in life like luck and finding meaning and having purpose in your life. For me, those ideas are pretty big and abstract and things that I haven't really thought that I've had much control over. But Ingo is an engineer, a designer, and he really breaks things down to be very methodical in a way. You can engineer luck in your life, and it actually made me think quite a bit about the law of attraction industry and the manifestation industry, and a lot of it is built on this idea of actually creating luck for yourself. So what this tells me is that all these ideas that I thought were intangible or out of my control, I could actually approach with a method. For example, I can cultivate, actually create more luck for myself in my life by getting myself into new situations, which goes back to that saying that luck is preparation meeting opportunity, right? So getting myself into new situations, relaxing to see the opportunities around me versus operating from this place of stress and anxiety, listening to my gut, expecting good fortune. Now this one really made me think of the laws of attraction and manifestation, but by just fostering the mentality of good luck coming your way, it actually generates it. And the other aspect of generating luck is just reframing things, meaning your attitude. Do you see yourself as someone with bad luck or bad fortune, or things don't really pan out the way you want them to be? You can change that and have an actual impact in your life just by reframing and changing your attitude. So I thought that was really cool because, like I said, these big ideas that I always thought I didn't really have much control over, they can actually be broken down into a formula, and you can create strategies in your life to make them happen. The second takeaway from attending your Best Life retreat was one on how to deal with this idea of jealousy or envy that you might have for others, whether it's the type of life they live or the type of business they have. Now this one I'm flipping a little bit on its head because Ingo didn't actually walk us through these emotions, but this is kind of what I got out of it. Ingo had us go through an exercise where we had to list out people that were superheroes to us, whether they were a real person or a fictional character. Now, an example of someone who I listed down was Marie Forleo. And if you're in the online business space, you know that she is a really big name, a successful entrepreneur. She runs B School, really big online brand. And I think what she does is really amazing and impactful. He had us flip the script where we crossed them out and we thought of ourselves as that person with those qualities. So for Marie Forleo, I wrote down that I really see her as a superhero because she is so outgoing. She puts herself out there as she is. She's not afraid to have fun. She's not afraid to be goofy. And that makes her really memorable and different. Someone who you admire, but at the same time you might have some envy or jealousy towards because of what they have. Flip the script, cross out their name, put your name there, and see how that feels. Can you see yourself as someone who has qualities of a person you admire, right? Can I see myself like Marie Forleo, who's so outgoing, like so extroverted, and she puts herself out there and she dances and she has fun. And the whole point of this exercise is to just put on that persona and see how it feels. It doesn't mean that you have to become that person, but it's just this idea of what if you embraced the qualities that you would actually admire in others, and what if you could apply elements of those qualities to your life, your personality, your business. I think that's my trigger, is anytime I might come across someone in my space where I'm like, ooh, I want to be like that, or ooh, that's really cool. I can instead see that as a sign that there's something in them that I admire. And why not just try that on for size? You know, see what it's like to think of myself as someone with their qualities and what they have to give. The third takeaway is this idea of meaning comes from creation or experiences. So one activity that Ingo led us through was writing down a peak experience in her life. So what's a peak experience? When you look back on your life, what are those experiences that really stand out to you as peaks, like a high or a really, really happy time? And I noticed a really interesting trend. They all had something to do with creation or experiencing. So half of my experiences were about travel. There were some really cool places that I got to see, like the British Virgin Islands and Kenya. And those moments of travel really stood out to me because they resulted in this experience I'd never had before. Now, the other half of my peak experiences were related to my business and, you know, reaching a certain milestone in my business, or launching or creating something and putting it out there. When I looked at those things that stood out, they all had something to do with creation. So that was a light bulb moment for me, that when it comes to defining meaning in my life, I know that whether it gives me an experience or it gives me the ability to create, that's where I'm going to find meaning. Well, so instead of meaning being this really abstract idea that's just too big to wrap my head around, this makes it a lot more tangible. Will this be something that I can have a unique experience from, or will I be able to create from it? That's generally where I'm going to find meaning in my life. The fourth takeaway from the Best Life retreat was embracing drawing. So here's an example of what I mean. Here's some quick sketches. Nothing fantastic, but Ingo walked us through why drawing is really important for us to express ideas. Drawings can have more meanings than a single word. So he really encouraged us to visualize the next year of our life, or 2 years or 5 years, whatever it might be, through pictures. Now, this was probably the most challenging thing that I did all weekend. And it was kind of funny because it's like, how often did you do this in kindergarten or grade 1, right? It reminded me of elementary school quite a bit, but it was like a muscle that I hadn't flexed or used in years, and it was so weak, and it used up a lot of brain power and was giving me a headache, was making me tired, but that's how I knew I needed to work through it. A symbol has so much more meaning to it than a word. The exercise was to draw out what we wanted to accomplish or see or do or be in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years of our life. If you are ever feeling like you're plateauing or you're stuck or you're confused, I would highly recommend to get out of going back to drawing. It might feel really awkward and like your hand will hurt, and there'll be a lot of questions. Why am I doing this? I'm not 5 years old again. But if you're ever feeling stuck, overwhelmed with options, anxiety, feeling like you have a million directions and you don't know where to go, I think that pulling out a blank piece of paper and just to start sketching where you see yourself ideally, like, don't be realistic, don't hold back, where you ideally want to see yourself 6 months down the road, or even 12 months. And if you're feeling ambitious, you can go up to 5 years, as I've done here. You should try it and see how it goes for you. It was really hard to picture what I actually wanted, And that gave me a lot of good perspective on what I have right now. What I have right now is pretty awesome. It's pretty close to what I always wanted my dreams to be. Does that make sense? My reality is pretty close to the dreams I once had. And that was a really cool realization to have. I was really trying to rack my brain, like, what more could I see for myself? What more do I want to be doing? Do I want to create more or experience more? I already create and experience quite a bit in my life, and going through this experience of drawing out the next 5 years of my life made me really see that and appreciate so much more where I'm at and where I've come. So those are my 4 takeaways from the Best Life retreat that I've attended here at the beautiful June Motel in Prince Edward County. I highly recommend it if you ever come to Ontario and you want to see a very picturesque, very pretty, very, dare I say, Instagram friendly motel. Plus April and Sarah, the owners, are super nice, very awesome, and great hosts as well. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and let me know below which was your favorite takeaway from the retreat. Was it 1, 2, 3, or 4? And as always, if you want to follow my journey behind the scenes, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Elise Dharma, and you can join me for all of my activities and retreats as they happen. All right, I'll see you in the next video. What is the sign off?
This is Dharma Nation signing off for Dharma Time and Dharma Rhyme.